Hi bakers, and welcome back to the Kenwood Kids Club. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a lemon meringue sponge cake, which is a deliciously balanced, light, fluffy sponge, a very subtle lemon buttercream, some zingy lemon curd, and of course some crumbled up meringue to give it that all-important texture. I personally feel like this is one of the best cakes you can possibly eat, and hopefully once you've given it a go, you'll agree with me. Now, as always, if you want to bake along with me, don't forget you can head down to the video description where you'll find the full list of ingredients you will need. You'll also find a link to the Kenwood Kids Club website. Over there, you'll not only find the full list of ingredients, but also the full written out recipe method as well. So if you're somebody who prefers to follow along with some text rather than a video, that's where you need to go. If you're planning on baking along with me right now, this is the perfect time to pause the video, go and get all those ingredients together, and then we can carry on. Have you done it? Fantastic. So hopefully you have got some butter or baking spread, you've got some caster sugar, you've got some lemons, you've got some eggs, you've got some flour, and you've got some baking powder. If your mixture's a little bit thick, you might also want to add some milk as well, but we'll talk about that when we get there. As you can see, I'm going to be using my Kenwood K-Mix today, and I've chosen the pink one again because it's my favourite. But if you don't have a K-Mix or a stand mixer at all, then don't forget you can always do this in a large bowl with a wooden spoon or an electric hand whisk. Incidentally, if you'd like to get your hands on an electric hand whisk, stay tuned until the end of the video. Just before we get started, if you haven't already, hit that big red subscribe button to make sure you never miss another one of our videos, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up so I know you're watching. Now the first thing we're going to do is grease and line our cake pans. I quite often skip over this part in our video, so I thought today I would show you how I usually do it. I have got some non-stick baking paper, and I'm going to need enough to line 2 7-inch cake pans. So I've broken off a little piece and I'm going to fold it in half. Then I can take one of my 7-inch cake pans, pop it on top, and then use a normal pencil to draw around the outside. Grab yourself a pair of scissors, and then we're just going to very quickly cut around that circle. These bits can be thrown in the bin, and then these are ready to go in our tins. Now there are lots of different ways you can grease your cake tins, including brushing on a little bit of vegetable oil. You can use an old packet of butter, just use what's left on the paper to rub around the inside. But I like to use something called cake release spray, or release a cake spray. You can buy this at most good cake decorating shops. And this is fantastic because all you have to do is just spray some on the bottom and the sides of your tins. And it's as easy as that. Now when I'm preparing for a class here at the cake school, being able to do that so quickly saves me an awful lot of time. But again, if you don't have any spray like that, you can use one of the other methods we talked about. The last thing you need to do is take those 2 paper circles that we cut out, pop them in the bottom of your tins, and then these can be set aside until you're ready to use them. You'll notice I haven't lined the sides at all. I rarely do because I find that using that spray and good quality pale metal cake tins means that my cakes will fall out super easily. If you'd like to know what type of tins I'm using, send me a message over on social media and I'll let you know where you can get some. Once you've got all of your ingredients ready and you've greased and lined your cake tins, then it's time to start baking our sponges. The first thing we're going to do is add our butter or baking spread into the bowl of the stand mixer. At the same time, grab your caster sugar and pour that in as well. I'm going to be using my creaming beater today, which is the one that has the rubbery bits on the sides, but if you don't have one of those, you can just use your K-beater. I'm going to pop that onto the mixer, put the top down, and I want to mix this until the butter and sugar have fully combined, gone quite pale in colour, and are really, really smooth and creamy. It takes a couple of minutes, but I promise you it's worth the wait. If you can hear my bowl squeaking, it's just the rubber rubbing against the glass, and as the mixture starts to spread out, it will stop. Now, I'm not going to make you watch this whole process because that would be a very boring couple of minutes. So we'll jump ahead to the next step, and I'll show you what mine looks like then. And hopefully just between those two shots, you can see how much paler my mixture has gone. I'll hold it up to the main camera as well so that you can see, but look how pale and smooth that mixture is. That means we're ready to carry on with the next step. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos, but I like to use something called the hybrid method when I'm baking, particularly with baking spreads like this one. The hybrid method is a combination of the traditional creaming method, which as always I have written out in full in this recipes method, which you'll find at the Kenwood Kids Club website. But it's also combined with something called the all-in-one method. Now, those of you familiar with Mary Berry, who of course used to be on the Great British Bake Off, will know that she is a big fan of the all-in-one method, which means you put everything in the bowl all in one go and mix it together. I really like the fact that in the creaming method, we managed to trap loads of air in the mix when we first mix together our butter and sugar. However, the all-in-one method is good for stopping you having your eggs and your butter mixture separate, or curdle as some people call it. A good way to get the best of both worlds is to do the first part of the creaming method, but then switch to the all-in-one method for the rest. So that's what we're going to do today. That basically means that in the bowl, with that butter and sugar mixture, I'm going to add in my 4 eggs. I'm using medium eggs today, and a great way to avoid getting shelling is to tap on the bench or on the counter instead of straight onto the side of the bowl. So there's 1. Now, at this stage, we're also going to add in the zest of a large unwaxed lemon. It's really important that you use an unwaxed lemon because waxed lemons have got wax on them. And when we zest them, that wax will end up in our cake. And I don't know about you, but I don't fancy a waxy cake. Now, if you can't find large lemons in your local supermarket or shop, then by all means use 1 and a bit or even 2 lemons worth of zest, because we want the lemon flavour in this recipe to really pop. My top tip for zesting lemons is to use one of these little graters. I find this is really user friendly because it means that all of your zest gets trapped in this pot, and that means it ends up right in our cake. So I've zested about 1.5 of those lemons to go into this cake mix, and then I've got my trusty spatula to help me scrape off all of that zest from the grater itself, and then of course to scoop out all of the zest from that pot. This is going to make my cake taste really, really lemony because all of that lemon flavour is in the zest. Now, because we're doing that hybrid method and have now essentially switched to the all-in-one, at this point we can also add in our flour. And we're using self-raising flour today, which has got a bit of raising agent in it. But just to help give us a really light sponge, we're going to add a tiny bit more. So I've got some baking powder here, and I'm going to add 1 level teaspoon. So scoop that, use a finger across the top to make it nice and level, and then that goes in too. We can then sift that into the mixture, and then this goes back on the mixer to be combined. Now I'm going to start on a low speed so that my mixture doesn't go everywhere, and then as it starts to come together, I'm going to increase that speed slightly to around about a number 2 or 3. Now I only want to mix this until those ingredients are fully combined, which has already happened. Now, we talk about this quite a lot, but flour contains a protein called gluten, and gluten is what goes really stretchy when we're making bread and helps to give us that lovely texture. If we mix our cake mixture too much, we can also activate that gluten, which would give us quite a bready cake. And I want a really light and soft sponge today, so I definitely don't want to overbeat or overmix my cake mixture. Now, if I show you what it looks like now, you can see it's all smooth. There's no little pockets of flour or anything. And what I'm looking for is a dropping consistency, which means if I pick it up on my spatula and hold, it should drop off. Now it did drop off, but it is quite thick. So it's up to you if you feel like it needs a little bit more liquid. If it does, just add in about a tablespoon of milk and that will loosen it up a little bit more. If you do decide to do that, make sure you don't put too much in. So just that 1 tablespoon, and then pop your bowl back on the mixer for 1 quick mix. Again, not for too long because we don't want to activate that gluten. So I'm happy with that. Let's grab that spatula back, just scrape off our creaming beater, and then we can grab our 2 tins back. Now, if you want to be really exact about this, you can weigh your mixture into your tins to make sure they're exactly the same, but I'll be honest, I don't usually do that. All I'm going to do is a scoop for that tin, 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 and keep going until you've used up all of your cake mix. Use that spatula to spread that mixture out so that it's evenly spread out in the tin. And then just to make sure there's no air bubbles trapped underneath my cake mix, I'm going to go with each one, and you'll see it helps flatten it out as well. And then these need to go into a preheated oven at 190 degrees or 170 fan, gas mark 5 for around about 25 minutes. What you're looking for is that the cake should have started pulling away from the side of the tin. It should be a lovely golden brown colour, and when you touch the top, it should feel spongy. I'm going to pop mine in the oven and have a bit of a tidy up, so this is a great time for you to do the same. Don't forget the washing up too. And then when I've done that, we'll come back together and we'll make our buttercream filling. I'll see you in a second. Now, once you've had a bit of a clean up, it's time to make your lemon buttercream. And to do that, we're going to start with 200 grams of salted butter. Now, I always use salted butter in buttercreams just because it stops them being quite so sickly sweet. If you find that your butter is still a little bit hard, even at room temperature at this time of year, then you can pop it in the microwave on full power for around about 20 seconds, and that will just soften things up slightly. Then take your bowl, pop it on the mixer just like we did before, and you'll see I've got my creaming beater again. I'm gonna pop that back on, pop down that lid, and give this a mix. And again, squeaky bowl. Now, I want to whip my butter up until it's really light and pale, even more pale than my cake mix was earlier on. So I'm gonna leave this running for a good 5 minutes at high speed. Again, I'm not gonna make you watch that, so let's jump ahead until it's ready and I'll show you what to do next. So after about 5 minutes, you will find that your butter has gone super, super pale like this. And so now we can start adding in our icing sugar. And I'm going to do it a little bit at a time. So I've got 400 grams of icing sugar. So if I put in about half, sorry, that noise was probably really annoying. And then I'm gonna pop this back on the mixer. And remember, start on a low speed so that your icing sugar doesn't go everywhere. Now, I'm only going to mix this until that icing sugar has fully combined with the butter, which shouldn't take very long at all. Once it starts to come together, you can gradually increase that speed. And there we go. So that icing sugar has disappeared into the mixture, like this. So now what I can do is add in the rest of my icing sugar. Always important to sift your icing sugar, just in case you end up with lumpy bits like I've got. And then on top of this, I'm going to add in around about 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And I'm using the same lemons that we use for the zest in our cake mix, so nothing is going to waste here. Now, 2 tablespoons is roughly the juice of a small to medium lemon. So actually the fact that these are a bit small was quite useful today. And then the bowl goes back on the mixer again, start on a low speed again, and we're going to mix it again until it's fully combined. After about 1 minute of mixing, you should end up with a lovely smooth buttercream that looks like this. And then I'm just gonna grab that spatula back, Give it a good scrape around just to make sure everything has fully mixed together. And then I'm going to cover this with a piece of cling film until I'm ready to assemble my cake. So that's going to be a little while yet because of course my cake is still in the oven, and once it comes out it needs to cool down completely. So pop some cling film over your buttercream as well, and then we'll jump ahead until it's time to decorate our cakes. I'm really excited. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours and my cakes are baked, they're cooled, and we're ready to decorate them. So when they come out of the oven, can you see they've got a lovely golden colour? They've got a bit of a dome to them because we baked at quite a high temperature, and they feel nice and spongy to the touch. So just before we finish them off, what we're going to do is grab that buttercream back that we made, take the cling film off, and I got that in the bin, not that you saw, and I'm going to put the buttercream back onto the stand mixer. What that's going to do is just make sure it's nice and smooth and ready to use, but also any air bubbles that were trapped in the mixture are going to get smoothed out now, so we end up with a really nice smooth buttercream. After about a minute or so, your buttercream should be ready to use. So I'm just going to scrape off that beater, and then I've got a large piping bag here. What I'm going to do is trim off the end, and I'm going to put a large piping tip with a round nozzle in the end. Now if you don't have piping tips, you can just cut the end of the piping bag and just use it as it is. But the nozzle is going to help my cake look really, really polished and pretty. If you don't have piping bags at all, you can also just use a sandwich bag, pop your buttercream inside, push it all the way down to the end, and then you can just pipe out of one of the corners. If you fold over the top of your piping bag like this, you can then hold it in one hand, hooked over, and that will stop you getting buttercream all over yourself when you're filling the bag. You can also use your thumb to scrape across. Just keeps everything a little bit neater. Now you want to get all of this buttercream out because again, we don't want to waste any. And then you can just give the bag a bit of a shake to help it on its way down before sliding it all the way to the end, like that. Then it's time for the best part of baking any cake, assembling it. So I've got myself a cake stand here, and I'm going to assemble my cake straight onto the stand. So grab your two sponges and decide which one you think is the prettiest. That one's going to be the top of our cake, and then the other one can be the bottom. I think I'm going to use this one as the bottom, and I'm going to put it straight onto the stand like this. Grab your piping bag with your buttercream, give it a twist at the top, and then we're going to use this to pipe some kisses around the edge. Now, kisses are basically just little blobs. What I like to do next is just grab a small offset spatula and use that to drag those into the middle of my cake. It means I'm going to have a really nice pretty outside, and then inside I'm going to almost make a little area to pop my lemon curd filling in. So pop a tiny bit more buttercream just in the middle, and then use your offset spatula, or you can use a spoon, just spread that around and make it nice and flat. And then I've just got some lemon curd from the shop today, but we have got a couple of recipes here on the channel for how to make your own if you'd like. I've also popped it into a piping bag, and I'm just going to squeeze some into the middle there. You can use the back of a spoon to spread that out, to fill up that space. And then something I like to do, which I think looks really cool, is I'm going to pipe a bit more lemon curd so that it comes through the gaps between those kisses. And you'll see that when we put the next layer of cake on, it means that you can see there's lemon curd inside the cake. Just going to grab that spoon back again, blend that middle bit together, and then I can pop my top layer on I'm going to get down to the height of the cake to make sure it's nice and central. Give it a gentle press down, and again, hopefully you can see that you have lemon curd, buttercream, all around the edges, and it just looks really cool. With the rest of our buttercream, we're just going to pipe more of those kisses all over the top of the cake. So I'm starting going around the outside. And then I'm going to come in towards the middle. Try not to make them too big, otherwise you might run out of buttercream. And then when you've done that, grab a little bit more of your lemon curd and just drizzle some over the whole top of the cake. Again, it doesn't need to be pretty. The last thing we're going to do is grab some meringue pieces, and I've actually just bought some meringue nests from the shop. You're going to crumble those up, and then you want to sprinkle the little pieces all over the top of the cake. Again, it doesn't need to be neat. You'll be surprised how cool it looks when everything's just a little bit randomly placed. Now, you won't need as much as you think. I've got a whole bowl full of nests there, but actually one is going to be more than enough. And what this is going to do is just provide a little bit of extra crunch on the top of the cake. If some falls off down the side, don't worry about it at all. And then again, if you want to, grab even more lemon curd and just pipe it over the top like that. And that is my lemon meringue sponge cake. Doesn't it look absolutely delicious? You know you're going to have that lovely light lemon sponge. You've got that really subtle lemony buttercream. You've got oodles of lemon curd, which I absolutely love. And then you've got those little bits of meringue just to add a little bit of texture right at the end. I think that looks absolutely delicious, and I can't wait to share this with my friends later on. If you fancy having a go at this recipe, don't forget to head down to the video description where you will find the full list of ingredients that you will need. You can also head to the Kenwood Kids Club website, which is also linked in the video description, and over there you'll find the ingredients and also the full written out method as well. Now, if you haven't already signed up to be a member of the Kenwood Kids Club, you can also do that over on our website too. And not only will you receive your very own membership card, but also you'll be eligible to enter our Star Baker of the Month competition. Every month we choose one person as our Star Baker of the Month, and that person wins their very own Kenwood Kids Club goodie bag and a Kenwood hand mixer as well. So like I mentioned at the start of the video, if you would like to get your hands on your very own Kenwood hand mixer, then make sure you head to the Kenwood Kids Club website, get signed up as a member, and then of course have a go at my lemon meringue sponge cake. When you've done that, take a photo, upload it to the website, and who knows, we might be choosing you as our Star Baker of the Month for January. And you'll also get to enjoy this super delicious cake as well. So I think everyone's a winner. Don't forget, I'll be back at the same time next week with another super quick and easy bake along for you to join in with. But until then, as always, take care and happy baking. Bye everyone.